Or it should be more brighter than that. I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. Please subscribe to my channel. I will do my WWE Smackdown review. Smackdown jumping off. We will talk about what happened on the draft. We will talk about what we think will happen. We had a few NXT call-ups that we will go through. Um, and we'll talk about what happened on the show, the masses, what I think will happen at Backlash next Saturday in France. But uh, my video was sponsored by JD from New York, Fightful, Denise Salcedo, Salamander, Just Alex, Wrestling Inc., Post Wrestling. I got more than ways, so hit that like button. Now before I go through my review and talk about the show and the masses and the news and rumors, Mike will show you all the podcasters first.
Happened. And while there were a couple of surprises that I can't wait to talk about, there weren't that many changes. And, I feel like the draft is always stronger on Raw because, of course, it's 3 hours. There's a bigger pool, and there are more rounds, therefore more selections. But I kind of felt like they just needed to. I just personally felt like a lot of the roster sort of stayed the same a little bit.
I mean, it's not a feeling, it's a matter of fact, right? The vast majority of the roster stayed the same. The only things that, like, notably off the top of my head, obviously the Carmelo Hayes thing, which led to the Cody Rhodes match. That was the first, like, oh, this is cool, this is interesting. Nia Jax switch. Did anybody else switch at all?
I have them down here. I'll tell you exactly. Okay, so let's get into this. I do want to break this down round by round. So let's break it down round by round, just to make it a little bit spicy. We're gonna spice up the draft for you guys here. That's what we're gonna do today, Rob. Carmelo Hayes call up.
Well, I like the Carmelo Hayes call up because it was a surprise. Obviously, it's an elevation. Obviously, it also set up the main event of tonight's SmackDown. And then, of course, I like Bianca Belair being the top pick, just from a gravitas standpoint. We've talked about this a lot and how big the women's division feels. And, for one of the women to be number one pick, Roman Reigns withdraws himself, which is a cool little wrinkle, I thought, before it started as well. But that is part of this and the, gravity that they have put on the women's division and what it means to be somebody like Bianca.
Yeah, and just so that you guys know, it was announced a couple days in advance that the champions are remaining on the brand in which they already represent. So some of you guys are wondering, like, why the heck wasn't it Bailey? Somebody else. It's because the champions are remaining where they are. And also, I should say one more thing before we get into this, and that is that when the show started, Paul Heyman announced that Roman Reigns has withdrawn himself from the draft. And even with that being said, Robin, I thought so. The reason why is because apparently he's not going to be there for some time, so we don't know when he's coming back. But I mean, it kind of feels like, hey, we're all knowing he's going to SmackDown, given that the entire bloodline, except for like Jay, is on freaking SmackDown.
Well, yeah, and he's been such a staple of SmackDown. But I thought that was cool. Again, in the sense, if he's not going to be back, what's the point in drafting him? They're going to have to figure out this mix for a while now. I mean, a lot of big players have been taken off the board. If we're real, Roman's not there. Seth is still out injured, though he was drafted tonight. Obviously, The Rock is no longer around. Rhea Ripley is injured. That is a lot of star power that is taken down there. But, I think that SmackDown is just stronger. I thought, we talked about this last week, and part of it's the 2 hours. Big part of it's the 2 hours. Maybe that gives me an inherent bias because I just like the way it moves better. But I also think the SmackDown roster is just stronger. Maybe it's because I already liked it better and they got all the same people. But, the bloodline thing is interesting to me. They stay on SmackDown. LA Knight, I like to say his catchphrases around the house. He stays on SmackDown. You got Bianca, like you just mentioned, on SmackDown. I just feel like Randy Orton on SmackDown. I just feel like SmackDown is a lot stronger. The only negative was I was watching it with my oldest son, Raj, who, is now watching a lot more than he does anything else. So there's a lot of drafting going on in our household. But audience is there. They drafted him right off the top. You know, that is a real thing. And with all those other people absent, at some point, and I think an eventual Usos reunion, this is going to be the opportunity for Jey Uso to see if he can take that ball into the end zone that they gave him.
Really, no, but you bring up a good point because that has been, the nickname that he's garnered. Yet we haven't actually, while we've seen him in some main events, he hasn't had like that big crowning moment. So I feel like even them just announcing him as the first pick was, of course, a surprise. But it might just be foreshadowing the plans that they might have for him over on the Raw side of things, right? So I'm hoping that that's what it is, because if not, I was a little surprised by it. But that was the first round. The second round draft picks, we had Smackdown draft Randy as well as Nia Jax. So Nia Jax was one of the changes because she was over on Raw and now she's moving over to Smackdown. And then for Raw, we had Braun Breaker and Liv Morgan. So here's my big gripe on this, Robin, and I'm going to start with this right away here. My big gripe here was that freaking, what's his face, Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis kind of looks a little silly right now because over on SmackDown a couple months ago, weeks ago, whatever, they spent, so when was it? So Braun Breaker was on SmackDown from February 16th through April 26th. That is a total of 70 days. He only spent 70 days on the brand, which sounds longer, but when you think about it, there was only a couple of SmackDowns in there, of course. But with that being said, they spent weeks between Raw and SmackDown, both GMs arguing and begging and doing everything they could to get Braun Breaker onto their brand, Robin. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you worked this hard as a GM to get this guy on your brand, and not only that, but he's been squashing and killing everybody each and every single week, why the hell did you wait so long to draft them and keep them on your show? Like, if anybody would have made sense to stay on a show, it was Braun Breaker to SmackDown. So I kind of felt that they made SmackDown look a little dumb in this by not drafting Braun Breaker right away. But at the same time, at least it was a change. At least it was a surprise.
Braun Breaker needs to be on WWE's feet. You know, Denise, I think you're probably paying a little bit more attention and evaluating GMs with a bit of a finer than most of the observers here. But I hear you, and there is a logical hole there. But I think going back to what I was saying before, that's part of the reason for that, because in my opinion, SmackDown has a lot of stars. So
also made her mark by attacking Bayley during we'll talk brand, but I didn't want to see any more of. I didn't want to see Becky Lynch and Nia Jax anymore, Robin. I was done with that program. I felt like, oh my God, it went from a match that we were waiting to see to a match that we saw way too much.
All right, come on.
I think if you would have asked me three girls that you would have thought when we're going to get called up in this draft, I would probably have named Roxanne Perez. I don't think, because I know Champions stay as is, but I think that's just for Raw and SmackDown, so I do think they could have drafted Roxanne. But it would have been Roxanne, Lyra, maybe Fallon Henley. Kiana James probably would have been my top three in terms of the names of the girls drafted.
you sound like a proud mom, you know? Elemental brands get you attached to the stars before.
Fire and Isla Dawn, really love them a whole lot, and Zoe. But would I have replaced them over something
else? So
I agree. It's not that. Right? Because to me, if you're usually notice this stuff, but no, not in terms of like the face of the company. I would put Becky for sure at number one, and then I would put Rhea at number two. in terms
exactly how you can deal with ramifications, ripple effects, and stuff like that. And then there's also something to be said for making the championship defenses matter. You know, they matter more if they're a little bit more infrequent. You don't want them to never happen. But I mean, the Cody Rhodes AJ Styles match as an example. I think most wrestling fans are looking forward to the match itself, but I don't think anybody has the outcome in doubt. Just like you didn't have the outcome in doubt with Carmelo Hayes. So if you overdo the number of matches you wind up having, and the outcome is never in doubt as to what's going to happen, what is that actually accomplishing from a storyline and narrative?
right. And I think also for me, like the big difference is like there's a lot of differences between AEW and WWE and how they present their championships because I feel like I see WWE is trying to present more of their stars. They try to present their champions, as these larger than life stars, right? And so they sort of keep things rare for them, right? It was different for Seth Rollins. That was a whole different story there. He was just a different kind of champion. And so I feel like that's what they tried to do. And then over on AEW, I don't know, it's different. I feel like it's been a little bit different for each champion. Every champion, there's been some that have been going out there. Like, look at Jon Moxley. God, that guy wrestled like a ton of matches when he was champion. And then we didn't get as many for Samoa Joe, but maybe because his championship reign was smaller. But so we're 1 week in and Swerve's already wrestling, so that's good. I do like that. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna keep that going.
But that's also the difference in presentation between
Yes.
AEW and WWE and some of the fans that they appeal to. But that's okay. One of the things AEW is listening to the
It would be a little bit more refreshing, but at the same time, I mean, it could work. It could work because I feel like Nia Jax, she's not. The fans love to boo Nia Jax, right? She's not that popular with the fans, so it can work, especially given that right now the bloodline. Kind of a no. So it's like, I think there were some people that were already sort of and fate. So I'm talking about the other guys. Let's talk about the other.
Rhea Ripley beat Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. She was supposed to continue her championship reign. Who knew when it was actually going to end? They had to pivot on the fly. And I maintain that giving it to Becky Lynch is the right decision. I would have given it to Becky or Nia Jax, but the logic for giving it to Becky Lynch is very sound. One, she's dependable. Two, she didn't need a moment, right? So her winning the Battle Royal was like, okay, there's another championship for Becky Lynch. Versus some of the other women, if they had won the Battle Royal, yeah, they would have won the championship, but it wouldn't have felt like a moment. Now they can go beat Becky Lynch, and it feels like a moment because of who they
right, because she's Becky Lynch. Exactly. So like that's why people are like, okay, like I get it, like, oh yeah, Becky Lynch, you don't want to see her champion again, but like that is a champion that if someone like Liv Morgan defeats Becky Lynch or whoever, it's gonna be like, oh shit, what a big deal. For example, when Rhea Ripley defeated Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, it was a big deal because of who she defeated, and that it was Becky Lynch. So for me, anyways, I think sometimes people forget, like you can love more than one person. Like you can love Rhea, you can love all these other people, that are on top, and also like respect the people at the top. So, anyways, there's been a lot more hate for Becky, and I'm just not here for it. Not here for it. We got Ice-T here who said 630.
Yeah. For a while now, but
and there's been one like almost every month at this point, honestly. So it's like they've gone up in pay-per-views, but we're still selling out $50 every time. Oh, everyone thinks this. In reality, it's not really the case, and we learn about that stuff. But okay, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else on SmackDown that we really need to get to here. Actually, So we did get Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi, and the big thing to take away from this is that we're getting backlash match. Naomi versus Bailey versus Tiffany Stratton for the championship. Do we think that the title is already going to change hands, or not yet?
I think not yet because of the shenanigans that were at play here. Because um, I thought maybe like Tiffany Stratton was going to win and have that one-on-one match, and then because I've said on this show for a few weeks now, I think eventually she's getting that championship. But because of what took place there, I don't know if we're going to see Nia Jax make an appearance again. I mean, it felt they set up the triple threat, right? Not the fatal four way. So is she going to interfere again and break all that up? I think there's more story to be told and more of a musical chairs sort of deal to happen here. And I don't think Bailey is losing the championship.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's too soon too. I would kind of feel really bad for Bailey on that end. But all right. So those were really the big things. Of course, we did have the contract signing with Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. Not really much else to add about that. We know the match is happening at Backlash, and we kind of already talked about everything else. So that's basically SmackDown for today, night one of the draft. Righteous Reg, where we talk about Dynamite.
All right. Now we will talk about the what happened on SmackDown. Now, Backlash in France on May 4th, next Saturday. Cody Rhodes and Carmelo Hayes. 5 minutes. Why just 6 minutes? 5 minutes? That's how long it was? That was the main event. Now, we got the Bianca Belair, the first overall in the 2024 draft. Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. This opened the show with the contract signing. Cody called this a Backlash title match must win. I don't know why. It's just a match. Now, is it going to be a one-off, or will it continue going into Saudi Arabia? Since we have that, I think in 3 weeks after Backlash. So I'm curious. Is this feud gonna continue? Is it more story? Or is it gonna be hopefully it continues. If we get like two matches with these two, I think that will make a lot more sense. Cause I'm okay with it. AJ Styles is a perfect opponent for Cody Rhodes, a perfect big feud, a nice filler feud for Cody Rhodes. So I enjoyed the promo. It was decent. It wasn't all that, but it was fine. I did like that Cody. I actually like that AJ brought up how he was a fan of Dusty. Cause he'd been with Dusty before all those years ago. So I like that he used that. Also, we had Braun Breaker destroy Cedric Alexander in like a squash match. How long was it? Like 30 seconds? Man, poor Cedric, he's not being, at least on TV, but he's not like in no big role. Now, it doesn't make sense that, Braun Breaker was on, they made a big deal about him coming to SmackDown. Now we're going Monday Night Raw. I can see the match with Braun Breaker. We can see Gunther and Braun Breaker in the ring. Bronson Reed, I wouldn't mind. Now, round one, we did get Triple H and Cody Rhodes announce the 4 picks in round one. Tori Wilson and Michelle McCool, they returned for round two. We had Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee defeat Legado del Fantasma. Santos, after the match was over, Santos showed the video that it was Carlito who attacked Dragon Lee on the SmackDown after Mania, I think. Now, I think we all knew that was going to happen. Now, I hope that Santos and Legado go into Raw, and SmackDown will probably focus on Rey and Carlito. I think they will feud. I think Carlito and Dragon Lee are going to feud, and then Rey and Carlito. Because I think they kind of gave up on Rey and Santos. I think that feud is over. I think Legado and LD are going to move on. I think Santos should go to Raw. Because he shouldn't be on SmackDown. He's been on SmackDown for a while now. He might go to Monday Night Raw. And Rey and Carlito, they're going to feud. Yeah, so we did get Bianca and Jade set their sight on the women's tag team title. they already announced the match for Backlash. So Bianca and Jade will take on the Kabuki Warriors for the women's tag team title. They will win those tag team titles. This is good to it's good to elevate Jade. Bianca never held the women's tag team titles. I think they will win it. It's time for a babyface to win it because Damage Control, Asuka and Kairi Sane haven't done anything with these titles. I don't think they defended that much. They didn't defend at WrestleMania. We also had the Bloodline. They came out. Solo and Tama Tonga. They attacked Kevin Owens. Randy Orton came out, helped Kevin Owens, and joined the fight. They did announce that next week we will see for the first time ever the RKO show. Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Really, like Orton going to be on the KO show. They're calling it the RKO show. But that's weird when you think about it. I think we will get the tag team match at Backlash. And I think we will get the debut of Jacob Fatu. You know what's going to happen? If we get this match, it's going to be on the pay-per-view. It has to be on the pay-per-view. I think something has to happen in this match. It can't just be just a regular tag match. We may see Jacob Fatu, hopefully. Now, Paul Heyman announced that Roman Reigns has he's not going to be in the draft. He's not going to be drafted anywhere out of the draft. Now we know Reigns is not going to be there for a while, not until probably the summer. We had the Dudley Boys return for round 3. Tiffany Stratton and Naomi in a number 1 contenders match. I think they announced the match for Backlash. I think we all knew what was going to happen after what we saw last week. It's going to be Bayley defending her women's championship against Tiffany and Naomi at Backlash. Nia Jax may get involved because he got involved here. I thought it might be a fatal 4, but it's going to be a triple threat match. She actually attacked Naomi. Well, yeah, I think she attacked Naomi. Did she? No, it's Bayley. Tiffany attacked Naomi. And Nia Jax attacked and threw Tony in the match. For the 4th round, we had JBL and Teddy Long now. As they said, we got an NXT call-up. We got Uncle Tana James was the last one to be drafted. Alright.
Now play.
Oh, come on. Come on, damn it. I'm getting sick and tired of these damn commercials.
Performances, I was able to find something equating to Gallows humor, and I had like a hearty belly laugh watching that segment.
Vince fired back. Vince Condo.
Was I said Vince McMahon in 1993 was starting to get a little bit of a feel of being an on-air personality character who was a heel. And I said it would take several years, but 1997, 4 years later, Vince McMahon obviously became Mr. McMahon, and the rest is history after the month.
Any thoughts on that very quick groundbreaker?
Do we see Sean WhatsApp on the show? Now, this show wasn't really all that special. Hopefully, what we see on Raw this Monday is a lot better. Because Monday Night Raw will have 6 rounds. Because Raw can be 3 hours. It will have 6 rounds. So, hopefully that we see something on this show. There's Sean. He joined.
And this caused the Bloodline's draft stock to fall. Round 2, it went Randy Orton and Nia Jax to SmackDown. So SmackDown is adding Carmelo Hayes and Nia Jax. Raw gets Braun Breaker and Liv Morgan, which I say, what was the point of all the Braun Breaker signing with SmackDown stuff, all the Andrade signing with Raw stuff? I guess we'll find out with Jade Cargill. That seems like a monumental waste, and I'd even brought that up back then. But hey, Braun Breaker on Raw, that's kind of cool. Although I think Braun Breaker could have been like a dark horse, like summer candidate to face Cody Rhodes or like after some mega push. LA Knight and the Bloodline stay on SmackDown. Ricochet and Sheamus stay on Raw. Then AJ Styles stays on SmackDown. Andrade comes to SmackDown. The Alpha Academy, which are all still drafted together, stay on Raw. And then one of the big surprises, Kiana James drafted to Raw. Now, Kiana James, this will make you feel old, debuted after fans came back from the pandemic. And debuted on AEW, actually. She worked a bunch of AEW dark matches. So, I mean, that one was a little bit of a surprise, but you know what? It was really cool to see.
Sneaky hard in how she hits. I really like that for her.
I'm going to set the betting odds for her having a mic that isn't her earbuds for plus 7,500. It won't happen.
You know,
I'm sorry, I just got distracted by the Bengals selecting a. I know that makes a big difference. What? So, also CM Punk cut a promo after WWE.
Because I think that's what you need at like 9 o'clock to be like, oh, him, yeah. But I think a number one overall is yeah, Drew.
Oh, all right.
Tori Wilson.
So we got Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. We got each woman. Now, hopefully Monday Night Raw is a lot better because I thought Smackdown was kind of boring. Now let's see what Solomon they're gonna say on this show.
MFT Tamatanga. I still have no idea what MFT means. They have not told us. It's part of his name now. He's the MFT. I don't know. Don't ask. But that's what they're calling it. So that tag team match is now official for Backlash as well. Jacob Fatu on his way. He's on his way in. I think Jacob Fatu, hopefully he's got his passport. Jacob Fatu is going to be taking a little trip to France, I think, in less than 2 weeks. So a very boring draft because there were no major moves. WWE, all effect, they played it very safe as far as major names here in this draft. But if you took a look at the pool that they posted on WWE.com, because many days ago they put the pool of eligibility up for Raw and for SmackDown. And if you took a look at that list, you really should not be surprised that there were not a whole lot of big changes in the draft tonight. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm excusing the fact that they put on a boring show. But if you look at this list, and I have it in front of me right now, this is the list of talent that was eligible to be drafted tonight. So for the people wondering where was Gunther and where was this person and that person, they're not eligible. They'll be eligible on Monday. Otherwise, why wouldn't he go number 1 or number 2? I agree. But if you look at the list of talent tonight, you have AJ Styles, who was drafted in the later rounds, even though he is the man challenging Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship at Backlash. For whatever reason, we saw some people go before AJ Styles in this draft that just had me scratching my head going, what the fuck are these GMs thinking here? How can AJ Styles, the #1 contender for your WWE title, be going after someone like Nia Jax in the draft? Okay, you had some moves like that that didn't really make a lot of sense. That being said, I AJ Styles over Raw. And that way the idea is, well, if he beats Cody, he might take the title with him, right? You could have kind of played that angle up. So I would have at least considered moving AJ to Raw. They didn't do that. I look at some of the other names on this list. Look, Alpha Academy was listed. Chad Gable and all of his guys. You know that Chad Gable is not going anywhere because they're doing a story on Raw right now with Chad going after the Intercontinental title, and the champions are frozen. So Sami Zayn was not going anywhere. The Intercontinental title was not going anywhere. And so you knew Chad Gable was going to stay on Monday nights. So that was not a big surprise. People like Bianca Belair was eligible tonight. She's obviously in the middle of this tag team run now with Jade Cargill. So you had to figure that you knew she was not going to go anywhere. You got somebody like Baker, I'll talk about him. He was eligible tonight. He should not have been eligible. The man was literally on Smackdown only weeks ago signing a contract with Nick Aldis, taking cheesy photos, and all of a sudden he's potentially drafted to another show. I don't understand the logic behind that either. But LA Knight was in the pool of talents. Randy Orton, again, these big names, Seth Rollins, they didn't move. They're in the same spot they were in before, which is not a surprise. Sheamus, the Bloodline. I mean, again, you look at this list, it's not really a big surprise. But unfortunately, it made for a very lackluster show. Now, night 2 is coming up on Monday. I will go through the list of eligible talent at the end. And I will go one by one and let you know who I think might be moving or who I would move. We'll go through those names a little bit later. But there was a main event on this show tonight between Cody Rhodes and the newest addition from the NXT roster to the Smackdown roster. His name is Carmelo Hayes, which really shouldn't be a surprise at all. We've seen Carmelo Hayes on the main roster several times this year. He was a babyface at the time. I don't really understand why they brought him up if he wasn't officially up. Same thing with Braun Breaker. I don't really understand what the need was to put him on TV until after WrestleMania, but they chose to do that too. Carmelo Hayes is going to be a star. I think that the ceiling for someone like Trick Williams in NXT is actually higher than Carmelo Hayes. And Carmelo Hayes will go far. Trick Williams is not ready yet. He's the new face of NXT. But we had a main event here. His very first official night on SmackDown. And in the main event, we had Cody Rhodes, non-title obviously, going one-on-one with Carmelo Hayes. He wanted to shoot his shot. The challenge was issued. It was accepted. We had a main event, and I held my breath. Because Cody Rhodes went flying through the air on an attempted Cody cutter. I'm trying to figure out exactly what these two were trying to do. I think I know what they were going for. It did not work. It looked like a botched spot. They were each going for springboard cutters at the same time. And they missed each other. But the way that Cody landed, I'm telling you right now, and I hope I'm wrong, I would not be at all surprised if we come to find out that Cody Rhodes hurt his shoulder on that landing. The way that he landed and the way he was selling it, I hope he's the greatest seller of all time. Because that is the one guy that WWE can ill afford to lose to a major injury right now. And they have been bitten hard by the injury bug, okay? Dominic Mysterio is out, Rhea Ripley is out, Charlotte Flair is still out. They're going to get some people back. Sonya Deville should be back soon. But they got a bunch of people that have been bitten by the injury bug, even Drew McIntyre, but he's going to work through it. The last thing that this company needs is for Cody Rhodes to go down with a major injury. So I am hoping that he is okay. That was a very scary moment. And we'll talk about that and everything else. This is your Friday night SmackDown review here. It is April 26, 2024. And it is the amazing Gunther. One. I am very happy to report that Gunther was not drafted. So he is going to be right here on the Solid Monster channel. Gunther ain't going nowhere. I got him on lockdown. I got him signed to a long-term contract. Hey, Robbie and friends dropped that $50 hat. Robbie, man, thank you very much.
That was
Big way to start the stream, I would say. He lives in the Cincy area, had plans on going to the show tonight, but my date ghosted me all day today. Thank you for the stream, Solomon. Well, that's pretty shit. Well, I'll tell you what, it may have worked out for the better, though, because of all the WWE shows to go through, I already got 2 messages. And John, shout out to John Sterniker in the chat. He's one of them. People who were at the show who said, God, that was a boring fucking show. So many talking segments and draft segments, very little action. I don't know how much fun you would have had at that show tonight, so you may have done you a favor. But anyway, Rocky, thank you, man. Thank you for that $50. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, super chats obviously are open. 450 likes. If we get 450 of you to hit thumbs up on this video, we will do our Be the Booker segment a little bit later on. That is the goal. Before we get into all of the Smackdown stuff and all of this draft nonsense, we have to start with some news here. And I wasn't even going to talk about it. I didn't tweet anything about it, hours ago when people were going nuts. But there was an article on the Sportico website concerning Vince McMahon and Nick Khan. And again, I read it. Now, if you actually read the story, I failed to see where the actual news was. But people were allowing their imaginations to run wild here, especially when it comes to Nick Khan. And I'm here to tell you that there was really nothing to talk about. But the story came out, and it mentioned that Vince McMahon is selling the last of his shares in TKO Group, a move that would end the executives' association with the business that he has worked in for more than 50 years. TKO filed a prospectus on Friday afternoon showing that McMahon may sell up to 8 million shares that he holds in the company worth more than $776 million at the time that the market closed earlier this afternoon. He may not end up selling those remaining shares. He's on his way out completely. He will soon be completely divested from this company. It's just a matter of time. But he has not actually sold his shares yet. Likewise, Nick Khan selling his shares doesn't mean shit. Set up in the bag. We've seen them do this before in hash drafts, where they have the one shot of the Raw room and then the one night. Was that Paul Heyman say that the biggest star, one of the biggest stars anyway, right up there with Cody, in the company, Roman Reigns, who was supposed to be eligible to be drafted with the other members of the bloodline, was officially withdrawing from his eligibility in tonight's draft. So Roman Reigns, in fact, would not be drafted, and the reason being, he is not going to be around for quite some time. Roman is out there, he's making movies, he's hanging out with his 5 or 6 kids, he's living life, right? He got that title off of his waist. It's like a huge weight has been lifted off of his shoulders. The last thing this guy wants to do is come back and wrestle. So we're probably not going to see him at least until SummerSlam. So that was the whole point here. Why be drafted? He's not going to be around for a while. And so Heyman said that they don't want him to hog the #1 draft pick when he's not going to be returning anytime soon. He said the pressure now is on Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce. And he said that he is intrigued. Now, from there, they cut to a live shot of Jackie Redmond. She was back in Orlando at the Performance Center. What they did was they had basically everybody from NXT and the PC sitting in chairs in the ring, and they took the ropes down. Sitting in chairs in the ring and outside around the ring and in the stands. They're all making noise. They have somebody on camera, I'm sure, going, make noise. And everybody's screaming and shouting. Everybody's all excited. She was standing in all this mayhem. She said a few things. I didn't even pay attention to what she was saying before she threw it back to Corey Graves in the arena, who was in the ring because Nick Aldis was busy. He was in the war room. He was in the war room conferring with his legends about what picks to make. By the way, some of these picks, I think he was conferring with the wrong legends. But he said, I'll handle the moderation here for our first segment, which was the contract sign for the WWE Championship match coming up in Backlash between AJ Styles and Cody. AJ was out first in his, what I assume is his shitty Death Rebel. Yeah, I always say it. You're going to change somebody's music. At least upgrade. I don't understand the logic behind downgrading. Why would you downgrade it and make it worse? I don't understand that. Come up with better music. Don't actually make it even worse than it was before. So anyway, not a fan of AJ's new theme. No. Got me choking on the shittiness of AJ's theme here. Look at this, I'm dying. As soon as I said AJ Styles, as soon as I said Def Rebel, I started choking. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Cody was out next. He was wearing what looked like a pink suit. That fashion plate that he is. So they had separate tables in the ring. And Corey Graves was in the middle. They had a podium in the middle, and on the podium was Cody's WWE Championship. He sat the title on the podium. And they each took a seat at their respective tables. Styles said, before I signed this contract, I don't know if people realize this, but you got two Georgia boys here about to go at it in France for the WWE Championship. And he knows that people may not like him right now, but, he said that LA Knight got under his skin. He lost at WrestleMania, but what happened? He gained his composure, and he beat LA Knight to earn the right to challenge Cody at Backlash. Styles said that he respects Cody, went one-on-one with Dusty Rhodes. And I figured there would be a mention of that, not TNA, but just the fact that he shared the ring with Dusty and he win match. Cody signed the contract, and he offered a handshake. And initially, AJ did not accept the handshake. He considered it. Then he said, watching you finish the story was a beautiful thing. But it's a shame that run won't last long, and I'm going to win the title of that. And AJ shook his hand, and he left. And Cody held the title up high, and that was the end of the contract signing. So there was no physicality other than them touching hands and shaking hands. There was no physicality at all here between these two. And I can at least appreciate the fact that we didn't get the standard formulaic contract signing where it breaks down, somebody overturns the table, AJ went to throw a punch and Cody knocked him down instead. But the problem is, when you have a contract sign that literally is just going to be talking and signing the contract, you want there to be dialogue that is actually interesting and engaging and will make you want to see these two men beat the hell out of each other. You want to see these two, or at least one of them, go in pretty hard on the other guy. And so as promos go, there was no trash talking. This was very tame. This was very lame. And there really wasn't a whole lot to it. So while I appreciate them breaking out of the usual formula, it would have been nice if they had something to really sink their teeth into, but they didn't really go at each other.
Well, that's because there's not much heat. Well, that's because there's not much heat. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be a one-off or if they're going to continue it going into Saudi Arabia. I hope so. So there's more heat to this feud. If it's a one-off, this might be just lame. So hopefully that they continue this feud. And maybe they're saving it for next week. Well, next week we have a face-to-face with them, so we'll see what happens.
Very, very, very dull. Now, as Cody was leaving, he was interrupted by time to play the game. Out comes Triple H, shook Cody's hand, raised his arm the aisleway, and then he invited Cody to come over with him. There was a podium set up in the aisle because we were about to get round number 1 of the WWE draft night 1. Triple H said that this draft is a bit different. He said those GMs in the back, they have to understand that it's just as much about protecting the roster they have as much as it is about bringing in a new roster. That right there should have been a telltale sign of what was to come. That was basically Triple H's way of warning us that these rosters are not going to change radically at all. And so don't think that there's going to be such a huge shakeup that Raw and SmackDown are going to look radically different at the end of this. Looking back at it now, he was basically giving us a heads up. I didn't realize that at the time that he said it. So he told Cody, since champions are protected and you're going to be staying here on SmackDown, maybe you can help me out by reading the SmackDown picks, and then Triple H would read the Raw picks. Since this is SmackDown, he said that Cody could go first. So with the first pick in the 2024 WWE draft, boy, isn't this exciting? Isn't this more exciting than the NFL draft that's also going on right now? Isn't the WWE draft where it's round Raw selects main event Jey Uso, which I'm not saying that Jey Uso is not over. I'm just saying it's a bit of a questionable number one pick. He is very over. You know what? He is challenging for the World Heavyweight title at Backlash, so I'll give them that. He is not the top babyface even on Raw, let alone in the company. But he's a big enough name that I'll let that sit. With the third pick in the draft, SmackDown selects NXT's Carmelo Hayes. And it was pointed out on commentary that makes it the first time an NXT star has been taken in the first round of one of these WWE drafts. And with the fourth and final pick of round number one here in the draft, Raw selects Seth Rollins, who is going to be staying on Monday nights. At this point, Carmelo Hayes made his entrance with a microphone in hand. Hayes said that when they talk about he doesn't miss. Hayes said that he came here to shoot his shot. Plain and simple. That's why he's out. He wants to shoot his shot against Cody Rhodes. So the least he can do is take the guy out of there. So Cody then took the microphone and he teased that, well, I don't know, maybe the crowd doesn't want to see me wrestle a match tonight. So of course they all cheer. And then he said, well, I don't know, maybe I don't have my gear with me. And everybody booed. And then he said, no, of course I do. And he accepted Melo's challenge for later in the show. So this right here, see, I come with graphics too. This is a visual media method. This is round number one. Bianca Belair to SmackDown, Jey Uso to Raw, Carmelo Hayes to SmackDown, and Seth Rollins to Raw. So as you can see there, no major movement outside of Carmelo Hayes getting the call up from NXT. And on his very first night, he already had a match lined up with Cody Rhodes. That was a big way to, I can't even say introduce, because he's already been on SmackDown a few times, but a good way to reintroduce him to the SmackDown audience. Seth Rollins going to Raw was obvious. Since Becky Lynch is frozen there, she's the women's champion on Raw. She's not going anywhere. They're not going to separate the two of them. So that's not a surprise. But I do have a question. I'm a little confused about something. Why is Seth Rollins eligible to be drafted while he is injured, and CM Punk is eligible on Monday to be drafted and he's injured? Yet Rhea Ripley is not eligible to be drafted. She's not listed with the other members of the Judgment Day. Because if you look at the pool for Monday coming up, it says the Judgment Day, and specifically Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough. Damian Priest can't be drafted because he's a champion, and Rhea is nowhere to be found. She was a champion. She's not a champion anymore. So explain that to me. At least be consistent with things. It's the little inconsistencies that drive me nuts. So I have not quite figured out why Rhea Ripley would not be listed with the other Judgment Day members, but unless that changes between now and Monday, she's not. We had Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee taking on Angel and Humberto. We had Humberto coming at Lee right at the jump. Dragon Lee fights back with a Hurricane Run and then a dive to the outside. There was a spot here where Dragon Lee, he had a crossbody in the ring. And Angel made a blind tag. And then he's standing on the bottom. I think what happened was he's standing on the bottom rope, pulling the middle rope up. They want want to see Cody. They were advertising CM Punk for both night fights back with a Hurricane Rana, and then it dived to the spill out to the floor. Barely had any time. I mean, there was no match. I mean, the main event was good. I enjoyed that main event, but everything else on this show was so rushed. And it was so quick, so they can get to the next draft segment. I can't imagine if you were in the crowd. You know, some people go, they just want to see stars. So, you know, some people come for the stars, but if you wanted action, this was not the show for you. Dragon finished for the win. I guarantee you, I don't even need to read the reports. I guarantee you they got their time cut. Not a doubt in my mind, things ran a little long at the beginning of the show. These guys had their time cut. The way they were rushing through this match, not a doubt in my mind. Now, when the match was over, Santos Escobar and Elektra Lopez, they walk out in the aisleway. And Escobar says that I am many things. A liar is not one of them. He said Elektra has been hard at work for weeks now, trying to find out who attacked Dragon Lee all those many weeks ago. And she found some security footage. Oh boy. Another wrestling show this month where we have to see security footage from backstage. Where have I heard this before?
On AEW.
For the footage that he's about to show, he thinks Ray is going to be very interested. So he pitches it to the footage. And it shows Carlito in the back assaulting Dragon Lee from the wall. He's just kicking this guy. He's looking around. Nobody's around. Then he gets down. He starts yelling for help. He's pretending like he discovered it. When in reality, it was Carlito who actually beat the hell out of him.
My bad.
So Carlito's in the ring, standing behind Dragon Lee and behind Ray. Now they have their backs turned. This is kind of goofy, the way they did this here. So they're in the ring. They see Carlito on the video beating up Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee is in the ring. He's seeing himself get beaten up by Carlito. Does he immediately turn around? Ask why? Does he immediately turn around and go after Carlito? He stands. Dragon Lee stands there and watches the footage while Carlito is right behind him. This man has his back turned to this guy. So of course he ate a backstab. We're good. He's an idiot. He deserves it. This was the most predictable turn ever. I'm sure myself and I'm sure everybody else in the fucking world was predicting that Carlito was going to be revealed as the mystery attack. They didn't work this segment the way that they did it, the way that they sort of formatted this. They did not work this in the way that I was expecting. What I thought would happen, it would show the footage. It would clearly show that Carlito was the attacker. And then Carlito would have a look on his face like either a serious look or a smile or a smirk. And then he would attack him again from behind and just lay a beat down on the LWO. And then maybe he would go over towards Escobar. And maybe he would end up becoming a new member of Legado del Fantasma, which is what I would do. I would have him linked up with Legado. But they didn't do it that way. Instead, he was like, oh, he's all panicked, like, oh, I've been caught, you know? And then, again, those two guys continuing to stand there with their backs turned, it's just, it will never not be funny watching that. Because who in their right mind in that situation would not turn around to look at the guy standing behind him? So the way they did it was very strange, very stupid. Now, as far as the heel turn, I'm all for it. Carlito has done nothing since they brought him back. Nothing. And I can't say he's looked all that impressive in the matches that he's had. He had that one match on Smackdown. I think it was a street fight. Might have been with Escobar. That was pretty good. But they haven't really done anything with him. The focus has not been on him. He's been part of that group. And the focus was more on Ray. And Carlito has been a background player. Carlito is going to be better off as a heel anyway. Does that mean they're going to do something with him after he gets this match with Dragon Lee out of the way, which you know that's going to happen? After that, that may be it. He may be right back in the same spot he was in before, where he's sort of in the background. They're not doing much with him. But I can't see how this is going to hurt him. I don't see how he could be in any worse of a position as a heel coming out of this that he was already as big. So I think it may end up being the best thing for him, honestly. Now we had Braun Breaker one-on-one with Cedric Alexander. Here's the play-by-play rundown for this match. Braun ran at Cedric. Alexander briefly countered. And then he went for a back springboard move. So picture Jay Lethal going for the lethal injection. He goes for a back. That's the perfect sound. This is what I meant. If this went 15 seconds, I would be surprised. A dominant win for Braun Breaker, and there's really not much else to say about it. Cedric Alexander is in the spot that he's in. Braun Breaker is the star of the future. Braun Breaker is going to headline WrestleMania multiple times in his career. Future world champion. How they're using him right now is very smart. He's explosive. He goes out there. It's like the Goldberg push. I mean, it's a simple formula. All you need to do is let the guy loose, right? He's a powerhouse. So you can do these spots where he spears somebody out of midair. I mean, the way he runs the ropes, I mean, they clocked him at like 30 miles an hour or something, running the ropes. Just let him go out there and smash guys. That's it. That's all he has to do. That'll be the quickest way to get him over as a dominant player. Cedric Alexander, well, hey, sorry. He's not the one getting pushed right now. Braun Breaker needs people like Cedric Alexander. I was going to say Cameron Grimes, but he's not there anymore. But those are the kinds of people that are going to be used in spots like this to help get Braun Breaker over, because Braun is the one they're banking. Now we got a video recap of Tiffany Stratton interfering in last week's main event between Bayley and Naomi for the WWE Women's Championship. Backstage, Tiffany spoke to Nick Aldis and asked, "Where's my title shot?" She dropped both women last week. She wants to know when she's getting her title shot. Aldis said that my watch is not set to Tiffy time, and that he nearly pushed her to the back of the line, but someone convinced him not to. And Aldis said that she would have another match with Naomi tonight. The winner would get a title shot at Backlash. Bayley walked up and was laughing and said it was actually my idea. And Tiffany told Bayley that she had a Tiffany epiphany and suggested that Bayley could come out to the ring later on to watch her beat Naomi, as Liv Morgan needs to be on Raw for when Rhea Ripley returns. And I think Liv may end up with that women's world title anyway. I think she's, I know she lost the Battle Royal on Monday. That doesn't mean she's not going to end up beating Becky Lynch for that belt. So Liv has to be on Raw. But then, you look here, Nia Jax suspended in a pool which at this point in the show still had AJ Styles in it and LA Knight in it, probably one of the biggest baby faces in the company. Nick Aldis picks Nia Jax. He should be relieved of his duty for that alone. And I'm not passing judgment on Nia as far as in ring. She's actually gotten better. I'm just saying, based on star power alone, if you were booking this, if you were drafting picks on your own, like a real draft here, and you pick Nia Jax over an LA Knight or an AJ Styles, I would tell you that you need to get your head examined. And then there's Braun Breaker. I said coming into this draft that Braun Breaker and Jade Cargill, and you could maybe throw Sheamus in there too, more so Braun and Jade, because they spent time on those two. Sheamus just came back one night as a surprise. And he was on Raw. With Braun, they had Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce courting this man for weeks. He had two contracts. He didn't know which contract to pick. He didn't know which one he was going to go with. Ultimately, he chose Smackdown. They did the whole pomp and circumstance, and they had Nick Aldis posing with the contract and all the photographers in the aisleway. Remember that? Jade Cargill, same thing. Both GMs were courting her. Ultimately, Nick Aldis was able to sign her. So I'm looking at this coming into this draft, and I'm saying, okay, the champions are frozen. They have draft immunity. Well, why wouldn't a Braun Breaker and a Jade Cargill be immune from being drafted? You should institute some kind of a rule where anybody who is signed with a particular brand in the last 90 days has draft immunity. Because otherwise, what sense does it make to have Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce going in so hard on these people if they could just be drafted to the other show? And that's exactly what happened here. So Nick Aldis had Braun Breaker for all of what, 4 weeks? Maybe 6? And now Braun Breaker finds himself on Monday Night Raw. And I understand them not wanting Carmelo Hayes and Breaker to be on the same show. I would do the same thing. I would divide them up. But then I would have sent Hayes to Raw instead. So that was a very stupid move. Now at this point, Wade Barrett pointed out how surprising it was that the Bloodline had not been drafted yet. You know, only the most dominant faction in this company in the last 3.5 years. Even though Roman Reigns was no longer part of the crew, it's still Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Paul Heyman. At this point, had still gone undrafted. We got footage of the Bloodline's beatdown of Kevin Owens last week. Then outside the arena live, Solo Sikoa pulled up to the arena and got out of a big black car. Paul Heyman to greet him, and Solo, again, he was all dressed up. His nice threads. He asked Paul if Bloodline had been drafted. And Heyman explained that, well, Roman Reigns had withdrawn from the draft. And with Solo adding new members, nobody really knows what they're getting in the Bloodline. So no, the Bloodline had not yet been drafted. Tama Tonga walked up and Solo asked Heyman if he could repeat himself. But before he could speak, Kevin Owens attacked both of them from behind, Solo and Tama. And officials quickly stepped in to break things up. After a break, Kayla Braxton was standing kind of off the stage, taking these shots now, which I actually like. It's a little production change. But they will have the announcer, whether it's Kathy Kelly or Kayla Braxton or Jackie Redmond, standing in the aisleway with their back turned to the crowd. AEW's done that also. They've had Renee do that on the show. It's a little minor change in production, but I like that. Let's do that way. She called out Bianca Belair. Of course, was the very first pick of the draft tonight. She asked Bianca about the tag team match coming up at Backlash, which was news to me. I guess this is the official announcement here. They had not yet made it official. That it will be Bianca and Jade challenging the Kabuki Warriors for the women's tag team titles at Backlash. And Bianca said that she's had a lot of history with Damage Control. Yeah, no shit. And Jade is the perfect person to help her deal with them. She said that the Kabuki Warriors will not have a reason to show up on Smackdown after they win the women's tag team titles at Backlash. Asuka and Kairi Sane, they made their entrance and they held up their titles. And Jade's music hit. Out comes Jade. All the women now are yelling at each other. In the background, all of a sudden, Kevin Owens and Tama Tonga, they continue their brawl. They brawl out through the entranceway, down the aisle, all the way to the ring. Owens was pummeling Tama. Solo Sikoa ran out. He attacked Owens and gave the Bloodline the upper hand. Tama Tonga started to beat up some of the random security geeks who ran into the ring to try to calm them down. Randy Orton's music hits, and out to the ring comes Orton. He saved the day. He went for an RKO. Solo slipped out, though. And Kevin Owens went, and he hugged Randy Orton. Joey says he is done with the NFL draft. More Solomonster play. Everybody should need more Solomonster. Well, enough of that fake NFL stuff, right? This right here, this is the real draft, right? Paul Levesque is more popular than that other guy over there, Mr. Goodell. So anyway, like I said last week, I said Randy Orton is going to come to the rescue and he's going to tag with Kevin Owens. We're going to get a tag team match. Probably a Backlash. It's been made official for Backlash. It will be Randy Orton and Kevin Owens challenging Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. And if Jacob Fatu does not cost Jey Uso the World Heavyweight Championship on that show, it's more likely that this will be the spot where he makes his debut. Now, there were reports originally that Fatu, and it might have been from PW Insider, that Fatu was going to debut tonight on the draft show, and then plans changed, and it was pushed to another time. With the word being that they're not in any rush to debut him. But Backlash would seem to be, unless he cannot travel out of the country for some reason, and I know with his background, he's had issues in the past, he was incarcerated many years ago, I assume it's fine at this point, but I don't know. Unless there's some reason why he can't be in France, Backlash would make the most sense, and he could help the Bloodline to a victory over Owens and Randy Orton. But we're going to see Fatu very soon. That will be another big pickup for SmackDown. Because we know Fatu is going to go to SmackDown. He's going to be part of the Bloodline. So when he comes in, now you've got Tama Tonga on SmackDown, and you've got Jacob Fatu. Carmelo Hayes is new to the brand, and all of a sudden, the SmackDown roster, you throw in Orton and Owens and Cody. SmackDown's looking pretty good. Now, after a break, Bubba Ray Dudley and Devon Dudley were selects Ricochet. Bubba said that with the third pick of the third round, SmackDown selects Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Paul Heyman. Finally, in the third round of this fucking draft, the Bloodline gets picked up. And with the fourth pick of the third round, Raw selects Sheamus. So the rundown here, LA Knight and the Bloodline are staying blue. He calls for the bell. What a wonderful finish here to this match. On this exciting night of wrestling. This is how this match came to an end. The finish sucked. Now, I was not expecting a clean finish anyway. I was expecting some kind of shenanigans to lead to what we ended up getting, which is a triple threat for Backlash. And at least the way they did it, it introduces Nia as a dominant player. Teddy Long went first. And he announced that with the first pick of the fourth round, SmackDown selects, finally, say it with me now, AJ Styles. Possibly your next WWE champion, but not really, is drafted in the fourth round on night number one. JBL said that with the second pick of the fourth round, Raw selects the Alpha Academy. Chad Gable, Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine Dupree. With the third pick of the fourth round, SmackDown selects Andrade. And with the fourth and final pick of the fourth round, Raw selects Kiana James. About the Raw Women's Division in need of some more depth. She played it straight. Now, backstage, Kayla Braxton was with Nick Aldis, and my man here was speed talking. Hey, when he springboarded off, at least he landed flat on his. Ultimately, though, he did hit Crossroads, so I mean, he could move the arm. He was still selling it, but he. Okay, hopefully. The match itself was good. I think it was a good spotlight for Carmelo Hayes. Obviously, I don't think anybody was expecting him to win, and so I don't know why you would. Even a non-title match, you're not going to beat Cody Rhodes coming off his win over Roman Reigns at WrestleMania and going into a title match against AJ Styles. But it was put him in the ring with the biggest and best on SmackDown and give him a platform. It's not like we haven't seen them do that before. They've done that occasionally in the past, but, you know, this was a draft pick. He got drafted, and they wanted to make his first night special. And so this is what they came up with. Carmelo Hayes will be a star for them. What his ceiling is, you know, I don't know. He was the NXT champion. He's got all the talent in the world. He's a charismatic guy. He's on the smaller side compared to a lot of other people on the roster. That could work against him, but I feel like that sort of thing works against you a little bit less than it used to, you know, in the old days, Vince McMahon era. So just going strictly based on talent, could he be a world heavyweight champion one day? Yeah, I think so, absolutely. The actions that he's getting, he's got this natural charisma. He's got every bit as much on the charisma front, every bit as much as Carmelo Hayes has in outdoor. The fans have really taken it. So if he could just bottle that up, improve his game, step up his game in the ring, keep getting better. Just put the title on him in NXT. He's going to have the chance now, like Hayes did, to be the face of the brand, to carry that brand. Let's see how he does. Let's see how he handles the pressure. If he passes that test and does well, he'll be an even bigger star when the time comes to get him up on the main roster. As far as the rest of this show goes, this is a boring show. This was not a great episode. This was a fucking missable show. The draft itself was a bore. Again, you look at the eligibility pool, you had to know that coming in because all the key names that maybe you would think, okay, this will really shake things up, you couldn't move them because they're in the middle of these stories that if you move them now, it's going to screw everything up. So they had to stay Randy Orton and Chad Gable, all these different people, LA Knight. You could have moved him, but to me, again, it makes more sense for him to go after the U.S. title. Unfortunately, that meant that we didn't get a whole lot of surprises. Kiana James was the biggest surprise. When Kiana James is the biggest surprise of night one of the draft, that's a pretty boring fucking draft. But we're not done yet. The following stars went undrafted during the actual show. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, Cedric Alexander and Ashanti Adonis, Ivar, Shayna Baszler, all the remaining members of the OC, which is Luke Gallows, who just had a baby boy, so congrats to him and the missus. Him, Carl Anderson, and Beechin collectively were not drafted. And Zoe Stark was also not drafted. Now, I am told that there were post-show picks, so I'm going to go right now before we go one step further. And I want to see if these names are listed. Okay. So here are the picks that were announced after SmackDown. All the members of the OC on SmackDown. Shayna Baszler to Raw. Zoe Stark to Raw. Seth to SmackDown. Baron Corbin. That was the story. That was the rumor going around that Baron Corbin, his run in NXT was done. He was going to get called back up, which makes sense because he had that bulldog thing going with Braun Breaker. Braun got called up. What else is Corbin going to do? So Corbin is back. He's on SmackDown. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn go to SmackDown, and Ivar stays on Raw. I was going to say Ivar goes to Raw. Ivar's been on Raw, so Ivar is staying right where he is. Nothing exciting. Absolutely nothing. Nothing exciting. It fits in perfectly with the picks on SmackDown tonight. Now let's talk about the names that are coming up on Monday. I'm going to read through this available pool of talent for night 2 of the draft. Now, DIY is on there. And DIY, they teased a possible heel turn with them on Monday. Also, Ciampa would not shake the hand of the champions after they lost. Has me thinking we may get a reformation of the way. Gargano and Ciampa, Candice and Indy. Maybe they bring in Dexter Lumis. You're paying the guy, you may as well use him. I mean, what a concept. If that's the case, then I guess they would stay on Raw. You're not going to draft. I don't think they're going to draft all of them to the other show. So my guess is DIY stays where they are. Although I think that they've already lost a whole bunch of times. They've already challenged for the titles at least twice. I think three times. If you throw in the ladder match at WrestleMania, they probably would benefit from being traded. But if they're going to go heel, that's probably okay. Apollo Crews is also eligible. Braun Strowman. I mentioned Braun Strowman on the podcast last weekend. This all depends on what the plans are for Uncle Howdy. Uncle Howdy and Alexa Bliss. Eric Rowan is likely on his way back. There's been a lot of talk about that. Braun Strowman could be with this kind of Wyatt faction. I don't know if it's going to be the Wyatt 6. There may not be 6 of them. If they're going to do something there, then they'll go wherever they need him to go. But if not, I think that SmackDown can use Braun. You can build up Braun as a potential future challenger for Cody Rhodes. You build him up as a heel challenger for Cody later in the year. That could be a program for 1 match, maybe 2. I think he would make for a good opponent for Cody later in the year. Bronson Reed is eligible. Candice and Indy. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. CM Punk He wasn't there tonight like they advertised he would be. But CM Punk is eligible to be drafted on Raw this coming Monday. I don't see any reason to draft him away from Raw, given that he's got a ready-made match when he's ready to come back in a few months with Drew McIntyre. And also, if you want to do the eventual CM Punk Seth Rollins match, they have to be on the same show to do that. So I think Punk is going to stay right where he is. The Creed brothers are eligible. They should stay on. Break up her and Bianca. Now I will say this. There is a chance. I shouldn't say there's no chance. There is a chance because the rosters don't lock until May 6th. If they go in there and backlash and they don't win, and I'd be very surprised if they don't win the women's tag team titles. If they don't win and they want to move Jade into something else, then you can certainly draft her over to Raw. I would not do that. I would keep her with Bianca, let that play out for a while. If they win the tag titles, they're going to float anyway. You can have Jade on Raw the following Monday. Because the women's tag champs are cross-branded. So Jade is going to stay on SmackDown. I don't see any reason to move her. The Judgment Day. Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough. No Rhea Ripley. I would love to know why. There are other injured people who are eligible to be drafted. Why would Rhea Ripley not be? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, Charlotte Flair is also not listed on here. That I can understand because she's been out for a while already. But again, if you're going to have people who are hurt and are going to be out for many months, why would they not be listed? Doesn't make sense. Makes me wonder though. Hey Barry, thank you. It does make me wonder if the reason is because they're going to split up the judgment. So they want to send Balor and McDonough and Dominic to SmackDown. Priest is going to be on Raw because he's the champion. And when Rhea comes back, she's going to work with Liv Morgan. They're going to ship the rest of the Judgment Day over to SmackDown. That's the only thing I can come up with. But you really want to be splitting up the Judgment Day? Hayden Carter and Katana Chance are eligible. Kevin Owens is eligible. Owens, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Owens. Owens, to me, feels like someone who should move. Owens usually does move in these drafts. I mean, it kind of became a running joke for a while where that show, we had a heel champion on Raw. I feel like it's a better spot for him. Legado del Fantasma is eligible. The LWO is eligible. Carlito was listed with the LWO. Now I can't imagine he's going to make up with them. So I don't know what his status is. Naomi is eligible. Natalia, New Cash Republic, New Day, Odyssey Jones. Odyssey Jones has been listed as a free agent, I believe. Is he a free agent or is he on Raw? Because he's been listed for a while now, but not used. I thought he was a free agent, but he is eligible to be drafted. Pretty deadly. Shinsuke Nakamura, who I've argued I would send him to NXT for a run down there. Tegan Nox. Seeing rumors about Tegan Nox being injured. I've seen no confirmation of this, but she was originally listed for that Women's Battle Royal on Monday, and then mysteriously was never mentioned. It was not in the Battle Royal. Percent thumbs up for this show, 35% thumbs in the middle, and roughly 28% thumbs down. At Solomonster on X. Chime in.
How to bend nature to your will. It starts with a battery system, one that's made for the outdoors. Make sure it's powerful. More.
Hey, Carmelo Hayes, man. You an online service that provides the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis.
Alright, let's watch JD from New York. I want to hear that. We want to hear that. We can trust them.
Guy's doing acrobatics and the other guy's fucking doing a half-ass tombstone. Well, what is the guy coming off the top rope actually doing? But flipping in the fucking air. Does he add anything to the moves? What a dumb fucking move, huh? Hey, not here to talk about AEW. Tony Khan said AEW is Pepsi and WWE is the evil Harvey Weinstein. It's a great job there, TK, man. Yeah, 3 steps forward today, man. You did such a good job, man. For a couple hours, and then you take fucking 8.
Now there was AEW on Wednesday. Tony Khan, they say beaten in Big Angle. Jeff Perry and Elite, they beat up Tony Khan. Tony fucked up a weird neck brace at NFL draft. A terrible treatment.
15 step back. What the fuck you doing, man? Seriously, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Jesus Christ. Anyway. Oh, JD, he's anti-AEW. Oh my God. Yes, I'm anti-AEW. If I was anti-AEW in the chat, who was it? I don't even, where is he? Anti-AEW. I don't even see him. It said, begin to shape the foundation of WWE. No foundation was shook. Oh my goodness, there's a fucking spider. Holy shit. Bro, there was a fucking spider on my wall that was the size of my fucking mouse, my mouse. Holy shit, dude. Oh my goodness, man. Is he dead? I put my fucking slippers on, man. Now I swear to God, man. I swear to God. They're gonna call me JD the fucking spider hunter. Never mind fucking Nate. Man, you know, you ever see a now I'm gonna be paranoid the whole fucking show, man. Seriously. You ever see a spider and then it quickly disappears and you can't fucking find it because you want to kill it? Man, your whole fucking skin. I don't know, bro. I initially had going into tonight's show. Very, very lame. Honestly, the picks were not all that surprising. The foundation, like I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by Spider Bitch over here, the foundation was not really shook. And I don't really think we're going to get much change until Monday. There's a 3-hour show on Monday. There's a lot more as far as the pool of superstars to be drafted are concerned on Monday than there were on Friday tonight. But the draft tonight didn't really open up any real change at all. We got a couple of NXT call-ups. We got a couple of superstars going from one brand to the other. But nothing really surprising. Nothing really super exciting to get excited about at the end of tonight's show. But I do think that they're saving everything for. The biggest takeaway for the show tonight was the fact that WWE tried to tinker with the draft. They didn't really do much of anything. There wasn't no comedy. They tried to really give you I don't want to say a sports presentation, but, you know, Vince tried to make a mockery of it. Vince tried to fuck around with didn't make light of it. And it was just something in the calendar that WWE felt like they had to do. And most of the time it was very disappointing. Other times they use it as a ratings ploy and they put it on in the part of the year where it legitimately made no sense. At least now, after WrestleMania, it makes all the sense in the world to do it after WrestleMania. Vince used to wait until October, November to do the draft, and it didn't really make any sense because at that time, WWE was doing the brand versus brand Survivor Series matches. And you can't really have brand supremacy if you've been drafted to a show that you've only been a part of for 1 month. It was absolutely ridiculous. So WWE did try to tinker. They changed the rules of the draft. They tried to make sense of a couple of things. As I say that, and what I mean by that is champions, they were not eligible for the draft. So Cody Rhodes was not eligible for the draft because I think if Cody was a part of the draft, I think everybody's first pick would be Cody Rhodes. But Cody Rhodes was not a part of the draft. Sami Zayn was not a part of the draft. Becky Lynch was not a part of the draft. The tag team champions, Miz and R-Truth, Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, they're not a part of the draft. Tag team champions for the ladies, I mean, they can go to any brand they want, I guess. So I don't know if they were exempt from the draft tonight. Bayley was exempt from the draft. Champions, the biggest change was that champions were exempt from the draft, which was a great thing. I love that. Such a subtle change that Vince never really thought to do, because why would we need champions to change shows? Why do we need championships to change shows? So I'm glad that they did that and they made that little change. So the draft rules were very simple. Smackdown, there was 4 tonight, 4 rounds and 16 total picks. On Raw, there will be 6 rounds and 24 total picks. Champions on each brand are protected, so they cannot be a part of the draft. They stay where they are, which is a great move. It's a great move. Women's tag team champions are eligible. SmackDown got the first pick on Friday. Raw will get the first pick on Monday. And the roster's lock Monday, May 6th, which means that WWE in that time, I believe, can make trades or send someone to NXT and someone gets called up from NXT to the main roster. I think that's where you'll see some of the online part of the draft take place. The WWE, it's not really, oh my God, they changed the draft for the better, but they tried to make sense and simplify it and make it a little bit more logical than Vince used to make. So that's very much appreciated. They had the War Rooms tonight, and they had a Monday Night Raw War Room, and the SmackDown War Room. And in the War Room were obviously Adam Pearce for Raw and Nick Aldis for SmackDown, and then they had help. They had help from Hall of Famers. Torrie Wilson was there. Michelle McCool was there. The Dudley Boys were there. Both Devon and Bubba Ray. JBL was there. Teddy Long was there. We're going to get more on Monday as well. Nice rotation of Hall of Fame talent to help the general managers facilitate and pick who they need to for their specific show. So I like that. There was no comedy. There was no over-the-top fucking cheering. Oh, my God, we got Natalya. Oh, my God, what a fucking draft pick. Natalya's on Monday. They give me a fucking break. Nobody's cheering for fucking Natalya. Picking Natalya on Monday night. Give me a break. It wasn't comedy. There wasn't over-the-top cheesiness. Very low-key, very simple, but excitement of it. I didn't really feel any excitement coming out of tonight's show. It was very, very dumbed down and very... it's just unexciting. Just unexciting for what they did with the draft. There was NXT talent that got called up. Carmelo Hayes, he got called up. He's officially on the show. That was in the rumor mill. Ilya Dragunov will probably get drafted on Monday. He's a part of the draft as well. They've already announced that. Kiana James got called up from NXT. Who? Yes. Kiana James. So she got called up. And Braun Breaker, who was already a part of SmackDown, they drafted him to Monday Night Raw, which I will kind of rant about when we get to that point in the show. But Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, and Kiana James were the only NXT alum that were on tonight's show. Carmelo Hayes had a bigger role than most. He was in the main event against Cody Rhodes. And the AEW Tribalists, and the AEW Cult are all ganging up with their pitchforks on all the podcasts. Where are you guys to complain about it? We'll get to it. We'll talk about it. I love making people look stupid, man. We'll talk about it, man. I always got the same energy, man. You know, the energy you gain slurping Kyle Fletcher, man. Where's that energy for Cody Rhodes and Carmelo Hayes? One company knows what they're doing, the other does not. The fuck do you want me to say? We'll go over it. Also, Backlash. Backlash is fully mapped out. We got a full card for Backlash. And the Bloodline. They continue to be the best part of Smackdown 3 weeks in after WrestleMania. And the presentation of Tama Tonga has been unbelievable so far. So we will go over all of that right here on Off the Script. I want to thank you guys so very much for joining me. Even though I'm a little thrown off my game because I don't know if this fucking thing is alive or dead. I really don't. Smashed it with my fucking slipper. And then I didn't see where he goes.
That's not
He might be one of those indestructible spiders. I don't know.
They don't have a top of your feet.
Now I gotta do the whole fucking show with my slippers on because I don't want to do wrong. I hate bugs. It's one thing you know about me, and I hate bugs. I hate spiders. I hate fucking reptiles. I'm afraid of bees. Hey, with my guy, Sir Wilkins, as a guest host. And we got a lot to discuss, man. We're going to go over this entire AEW. Or, even though I was fearing for my life, I don't know what the fuck it is now. I know I killed it. I think I killed it, but I feel something wrong. That also didn't happen either. Then they show Jackie Redmond, who is in Orlando at the Performance Center. That's exactly where I would want to be. Orlando or Cincinnati. Easy pick. Jackie Redmond was shown in Orlando at the Performance Center with all of the NXT roster sitting within the Performance Center, watching SmackDown on the big screen. And NXT wrestlers surrounded her. Like I said, she asked who was next as the NXT wrestlers that are ready to get drafted up to the main roster. We'll figure it out. Cody Rhodes, he made his entrance. And we are getting a contract signing from Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. Who's got better hair, Cody Rhodes or AJ Styles? The winner easily is AJ Styles. We were on hair. AJ would be the world champion. Obviously, the crowd loved Rhodes. The contract signing here in the new era. You guys are like, it's a new era. It's a new era. Yeah. Vince's contract signings were very same old shit. We got one table on one side for AJ. We got one table on the other side for Cody Rhodes. And we got Corey Graves moderating and mediating the entire thing. Styles raised up from his chair. He said before he signs this contract, he wanted to mention that two Georgia boys are going to wrestle for the first time for the WWE title. Styles says he knows why the crowd boos him, and he accepts it. Styles said that he doesn't respect LA Knight. I don't know what LA Knight has to do with this, but okay. Like an ex-girlfriend who won't give up. I'm wrestling for the WWE title, but I gotta let you know I don't like LA Knight. Styles said he lost at WrestleMania, but he regained his composure and earned the right to face Rhodes at Backlash. Styles said he respected Rhodes. He said he and Rhodes had to prove themselves outside of WWE. He said Dusty Rhodes, taught them both how to stand on their own feet. Crowd started to chant for Dusty. Styles said he learned a lot from Dusty. He was a good man. Styles said Dusty taught him how to carry himself and how to carry the weight of a champion. Styles said the weight of the title isn't just leather and gold. Styles said we're going to see if Rhodes can carry it at Backlash. Do me a favor, somebody go check on David M at the bar and see if he needs to be flagged. Seriously. David M with another $100 super chat. He says, who has better hair? Tony's daddy's mustache, obviously. Listen, man, Shad Khan was on Dynamite at the end of the show, man. He made a bigger splash than his son. David M, thank you for your generosity, brother. You are absolutely sitting at the fucking VIP table all by yourself tonight, man. Right under the fucking picture with the moving eyes. David M, thank you so much, brother. Cody Rhodes. He's sitting at his table with a contract. He raised the mic and asked the crowd, what do you want to talk about? Now, what do we want to talk about, Cody? I don't know. Figure it out. He says they could talk about respect. Rhodes said everyone in the locker room respects AJ Styles. Rhodes said he respected the roads that Styles took to get to WWE. So the respect goes by the wayside at Backlash. Rhodes said Styles has been here before, and Styles is implying that Rhodes can't carry the weight of the title. Rhodes told him it's not about winning, it's about keeping it. Rhodes said it's a level playing field at Backlash. Not a dream match for him, it's a must-win match for him. Rhodes signed the contract and handed it to Graves. Rhodes then stood up and extended his hand to AJ Styles for AJ to shake it. Styles lifted the mic, said it was a beautiful thing to see Rhodes' story. It's a shame, though, that your reign will have to end at Backlash. They ended up shaking hands. Styles then left, stopped, looked back at Cody. Cody looked back at him because AJ's a heel. He might have tried something dastardly or heinous, tried to attack Cody. That didn't happen. Styles left the ring and exited up the ramp. Rhodes then took his title off the podium and held it up for the crowd. The fine segment. Nothing really spectacular happened here. They didn't really do the typical WWE contract signing or AEW contract signing where, you know, they have choice words for each other and then a big brawl happens and someone goes through the table during the contract signing. That's a good thing because it made it feel like, and I mean this, and I know a lot of people are going to shit on this, but WWE's got a pay-per-view legitimately as they are finishing up their draft. This is a fine match to do for Cody Rhodes as his first title defense immediately after they set the rosters up for the post-draft. Nobody should bitch and complain about this. The thing that I love about this is that it ended so calmly and contract signing went on. Not typical of the WWE contract signing. They both shook hands and went their separate ways. This leaves this particular match of feud to potentially continue on after Backlash because Cody is going to need an opponent after Backlash. And being that this match was basically made out of thin air, with no heat going into it, and they're talking about respect, and they're talking about the roads that they paved to get here to this point, I feel like this is not going to be just a one and done. So I don't mind that at all. Because the feud between Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles, I can certainly get behind. And a couple of matches in this series, sign me up. I think it's going to be good stuff. And I'm ready for Cody as champion. And it's nice. It's fresh. To see Cody as champion, carrying the belt, carrying the brand, and it's just new. And I appreciate that. We're going to see what happens at Backlash. I'm very excited to see what they can create in France for the WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes posed the title on the ramp. Triple H's music hit. And he comes out of Gorilla. And he held up Rhodes' hand. And then Paul Levesque, Triple H asked Cody Rhodes to join him at the podium for the first round of draft picks to be announced. So Triple H welcomed everyone to the first round of the WWE draft. He said it's a night that changes the landscape of WWE going forward. Triple Triple H said it's just as much about the GMs protecting the roster that they have than it is adding to it. Triple H said Rhodes is going to stay on SmackDown as the champions are protected, meaning that they will not be switching brands. Triple H said Rhodes can read the SmackDown picks and he will read the Raw picks. So first, Cody Rhodes announces SmackDown, being that SmackDown is the show that we're on, they get the first pick. First pick for SmackDown, Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is the first draft pick for WWE. I don't have a problem with that. I don't. The way I look at it is, all right, they want to make sure that priority in the draft, and Bianca Belair being chosen number one sets that tone. That's the way I interpreted this draft. And everybody else, listen, I mean, if you're asking me, if I'm SmackDown, I'm drafting Gunther, right? And all the guys are next, I'm drafting Gunther. That's my number one. Rollins is hurt, Punk is hurt, McIntyre may be a strong consideration as well. Cody can't be picked. I'm choosing Gunther. But the way that I interpret it as Bianca Belair, they want to focus on the win. And we're going to choose the top female in the division. That's Bianca. No problem. Roman Reigns, El Mulatto, listen, brother, I know you remember, bro. Listen, you gotta pay attention, man. Open your ears. Roman already via Paul Heyman. Are you listening? Roman Reigns withdrew himself from the draft. Roman Reigns is not a part of the draft. Of course, anybody would have chosen Roman over Bianca Belair. Get with Roman. Come on. Rollins is hurt. Rollins is hurt. Why would you draft Rollins when he's going to be out for 9 months? I don't get it. That would be a dumb pick. You want instant gratification to be drafted. Surprised Rollins even went on this show. Just got in. Did you watch the show? I appreciate you watching me to fill you in on SmackDown, but this is what happened on the show. Cody Rhodes picked Bianca Belair, or said that SmackDown, he didn't pick. SmackDown picked Bianca Belair. Triple H announced Raw's first pick. Jey Uso. Main event Jey Uso staying on Raw, which is surprising to me. And I do feel like Jey Uso is going to be part of some sort of trade along the lines. That's what I think. Bloodline ended up staying on SmackDown. Jey Uso is staying on Raw. Cody Rhodes says the next pick is Carmelo Hayes from NXT. We got Carmelo Hayes up from NXT being chosen by SmackDown. This is the first time NXT stars will pick in the first round of the draft. That says it all. WWE is incredibly high on Carmelo. Paul Levesque said he liked the pick for SmackDown, and then he announced the next pick. Monday Night Raw chooses Seth Rollins. Right now, Bianca Belair, SmackDown. Jey Uso, Raw. Carmelo Hayes, SmackDown. And Seth Rollins, Raw. So out of the first round of the draft this year, really nothing has changed so far outside of adding Carmelo Hayes to the SmackDown roster, which is a great one. Speaking of Carmelo Hayes, he made his entrance. Hayes comes out with a microphone and said when they talk about who's next and who's the hottest out, they talk about Carmelo Hayes. It was a huge whoop that trick crowd chant in Cincinnati. Hayes says, listen, I already did that. Hayes turned to Rhodes and said, he doesn't miss. He said, as a first round pick, the best way to shoot his shot on SmackDown is to shoot against Cody Rhodes. Rhodes favors the bold. Rhodes says he may have forgot his gear. He then said, you know what? I didn't forget it. I accept your challenge. And they shook hands. So the match was made. Carmelo Hayes versus Cody Rhodes in the main event. Smackdown tonight. Non-title match between a future piece of the company and the current face of WWE. I've seen a lot of divisiveness on social media. Saw a couple of tweets come my way. Saw a couple of threads on social media in the recommended section. I hope all the podcasters, the anti-AEW podcasters, I hope they keep this same energy with Carmelo Hayes and Cody Rhodes like they did Swerve Strickland and Kyle Fletcher on Wednesday. I knew this was going to raise a tribalistic discussion. Let's end it right. See some people like, oh, I hope JP keeps that same energy. I hope JP shits on this man and shit on it on Wednesday. I will be doing no such thing. I will not be shitting on this. It's not the same thing as what we saw on Wednesday. First of all, let's call a spade a spade. First of all, AEW took their world champion coming out of a major win on Sunday night against Samoa Joe and put him on Wednesday's show. No microphone, no celebration, and third from the top. Ultimately, they made Swerve fifth priority on the show. AEW has a problem with priorities. We saw the Elite and Jack Perry exit an Uber, which was obviously more important than Swerve Strickland winning the World Championship. And we saw Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy before that. So by my optics, Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy and the Elite are more important than the guy who made history as the first black AEW World Champion. Then he gets a match with Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher, I have already documented, has not won a match since October 14th, 2023. That match was a number one contenders match, or in their eyes, an eliminator match, meaning if Kyle Fletcher won and beat the world champion, he would get a title shot at Swerve Strickland. The same Swerve Strickland that wrestled Samoa Joe in a barn burner, very difficult, grueling match. And he goes into Wednesday's show struggling against a guy who has gone winless on national television all year. How exactly does that make Swerve Strickland? Doesn't really make Swerve look good at all now, does it? You see, for all the tribal fucking virgins out there that wave the flag of AEW took their biggest baby face right now in Swerve Strickland, who made history, the AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland, and did not present him as a world champion. WWE would have never done that with Roman Reigns. WWE would have never done that with Cody Rhodes. So why are you comparing the two companies when clearly one did it right and the other fucked up? Now people are comparing this same situation to Carmelo Hayes and Cody Rhodes. That was a number one contenders match. This was a non-title match. That match never should have taken place and had no business on national television at all. This match, you got an NXT call-up who's coming up for the first fucking time officially on the main roster, whose entire gimmick is to shoot his shot, be cocky, and showcase how good he is against the best. There was dialogue. He gave you a reason why he was doing what he was doing. And Cody Rhodes is standing there because he was in the same position as Carmelo Hayes, and he knows and appreciates that, and took him up on his offer. The match was made. No championship on the line. There wasn't no fucking contender match where Carmelo beat him, which we knew he wasn't. He'd be getting a championship match. This is a different administration. This is not Vince McMahon. Triple H doesn't do, the number one contendership matches that Vince McMahon used to do, or the eliminator matches that Tony Khan does. If he does it, it's a rarity. A rarity. So I don't see where similarities are. Everybody's like, oh, JD needs to shit on this. No, I shit on AEW strictly because of the fucking structure of the show and the way that they presented their world champion. Garbage. WWE would never treat Cody Rhodes like that, and they're treating Carmelo Hayes as a fucking future piece of this brand and a future piece of the company. Kyle Fletcher's a great pro wrestler, but let's be real. Kyle Fletcher is never going to be a face of AEW. So no matter what he did in that match, it's already been forgotten as soon as the bell rings. WWE's not going to treat Carmelo Hayes the same way that AEW treated Kyle Fletcher. It's not the same thing. So spare me your fucking crying and spare me your excuses. You're trying to dance around the actual problem by pinpointing the easiest thing to call us out on. Meanwhile, you should all be upset that the fucking fact of the matter is Swerve was treated as fifth best. Fifth best on the show. Your world champion. Imagine that. Fifth priority on the show following a pay-per-view. And then all these tribalists, now you got me started. Now all these tribalists are like, oh, well, Swerve is showing up on Saturday to cut a promo. Really? Really now? Or maybe you're just too fucking stupid to actually use the brain that God gave you. If that was planned, which I know it wasn't, if that was planned, why didn't Swerve come out and say that he'd be saying something on Saturday, on Wednesday? Why didn't he say anything himself on Wednesday? No promo in front of the and they spin it as if it was planned. And is that Swerve is not good enough to cut a promo on the Edge show because everything else that happened on that show was much more important than Swerve Strickland, the new AEW champion. The optics tell me that he's good enough for Collision, the big show, but he's not good enough for the A show on Dynamite. Because Dynamite is your A show. Dynamite is your number one audience. Any more fucking questions? Don't argue with me. You will lose. I don't want to hear from any of you fucking tribalists and elitists out there. Fucking clueless high. Getting rid of this establishment of all the spiders first. Match went 5 minutes and 90% of it took place in the commercial. Dragon Lee and Berto made tags. Mysterio took down Angel. And he made the cover for the win. 1, 2, 3. At the end of the match, Santos Escobar appeared with Electra Lopez. He told them to hold the celebration. Escobar said he's many things, but the one thing he is not is a liar. He says he didn't attack Dragon Lee before WrestleMania 40, and he meant it when he said it. With Lopez has been trying to track down the security footage for weeks. Escobar said she did, and the footage that you will find is very interesting. The video was shown on the big screen. And the video showed Carlito attacking Dragon Lee. Yes, Carlito attacked Dragon Lee. Lee was thrown into the wall, and Carlito beat him up. And he didn't look back to see who was attacking him. Carlito disappeared and then reemerged, pretending that he found Dragon Lee down, hurt, as someone beat him up. So as the video played, Carlito was pacing back and forth. He didn't know what to do. And then he ends up attacking Rey Mysterio from behind. Carlito hit Dragon Lee with a backstabber, and then he quickly exited the ring and ran through the crowd, jumping over the barrier. Lee Barrett said Carlito should get an Oscar for that performance. Mysterio checked on Dragon Lee in the ring. Now, everybody saw this coming. I mean, this is not really a revelation of sorts. I think we all knew Carlito was the one that attacked Dragon Lee here. Fans and fans, they're not surprised by this either. They didn't really do the LWO and the fans the last few months. I think the feud between Legato and LWO at this point is dead. Honestly, I'm tired of it. I didn't give a shit about seeing the tag team match tonight. I don't really give too much about Carlito turning on the LWO. The LWO should really just be the standard. So, seemingly everybody just wants to turn on Rey Mysterio. That's the cool thing to do in WWE. Turn on Rey Mysterio. But I'll tell you what, Carlito making the transition from babyface to heel, I feel like is going to fit him. I think Carlito is just so much more better as a heel. It just comes off naturally as a bad guy. I feel like him as a babyface was keeping him just drowning on SmackDown. There was no excitement from Carlito. There was no heat coming from Carlito, and anything that he did, he's been a complete non-factor. I feel like him going out on his own and doing his own thing as a heel, so much better. He didn't need to be aligned with the LW. He's not even Mexican. So, Carlito turning into a heel, I feel like is going to be the best choice. Hopefully they got something planned. Maybe they move him to Monday Night Raw, honestly. We'll see what happens with that. But everybody saw this one coming. I love the footage being shown. Glad that they actually showed you what was happening. And Rey Mysterio, once again, loses another soldier in the LW. Braun Breaker came out one-on-one with Cedric Alexander. This match lasted 30 seconds. Cedric got a couple of chops and a kick on him. He then did a handspring springboard off the ropes, and Braun Breaker met him with a devastating spear. 1, 2. Basically, the thing about Braun Breaker is a very good professional wrestler, and they're treating him like fucking Ryback out there. Like, I get it. Braun's fast, Braun's tough, Braun's strong, Braun's intense. It's great. Can we actually get this guy to actually wrestle on the show? I'm tired of these squash matches. I know what the guy's capable of. Now, I know that they want to build him as this intimidating figure in front of the casual audience that may not know him. But still, I feel like Braun Breaker is worth so much more than fucking 30 seconds to get Cedric Alexander. Hopefully, they move him to Monday Night Raw. Hopefully, they have a plan for him over there. Maybe he challenges for the Intercontinental Championship at some point. I can see that. Or maybe they call up Baron Corbin and they pair the Wolf Dogs together. Meaning that they broke up the period. And they just add Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin to the tag team division. Like, I would not mind that. Cedric Alexander, I mean, what a lost cause he is, huh? I thought they were planning a tag team with him and Ashante Adonis. What happened to that? I wouldn't be surprised if both of them move back down to NXT and get their feet wet in their tag team division, honestly. I think that's probably the best of them. Corbin got drafted to SmackDown. Are they still doing? Are they doing supplemental drafts right now? Are they doing supplemental drafts? I didn't think they were doing that right now. Let me check WWE.com. I didn't know they were doing that. Why is Baron Corbin on SmackDown? Draft continues. Look at this. Okay. WWE's tweeted out. Look at this. Now we got some more moves here. The OC to SmackDown. Shayna Baszler to Raw. And Zoe Stark to Raw. Okay? I mean, those really aren't groundbreaking moves there. I mean, nobody really moved them. Cedric Alexander and Ashante Adonis to SmackDown. Alpha Fire and Isla Dawn to Raw. Baron Corbin to SmackDown. And Ivar stays on Raw. So, the only thing that happened there is Baron Corbin gets drafted from NXT to SmackDown. And Alpha Fire, Isla Dawn gets drafted to Raw. That was at 11 o'clock. And that's the latest on the draft. Again, nothing utterly groundbreaking, but those are the supplemental moves that happened at the end of the show. That I just mentioned, Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker being a tag team. Now I gotta retract that because Baron Corbin is on SmackDown and Braun Breaker got moved to Monday Night. Nick Aldis. He was in the war room, coming out. Stratton stopped him. She asked if Aldous saw what she did last week. Stratton asked where her title match was. Aldous said he watched Tiffany, but it doesn't always operate on Tiffany time. Aldous said that he was going to send Stratton to the back of the line, but someone changed his mind. Aldous said Stratton will battle Naomi tonight, and the winner will face Bayley at Backlash. Stratton asked, well, who had that bright idea? In walks Bayley. It was all Bayley's idea. Bayley was upset that her friend Naomi got her title match ruined, and then Bayley gave Nick Aldis the idea that Naomi should go one-on-one with Tiffany Stratton for the right to wrestle Lee at Backlash. Stratton said she had a Tiffany epiphany and said she made a big deal about Nick Aldis signing a big name free agent, Braun Breaker, gave him a contract, physically a contract on national television, and signed this guy to a Smackdown contract just a couple of weeks ago. And now he's a part of the draft being moved over to Monday Night Raw. I have to ask, why was valuable TV time wasted on Braun Breaker to sign a Smackdown contract if the plan was only for moving him to Monday Night Raw? So stupid. So fucking ridiculous. Why wasn't Braun Breaker exempt from the draft like everybody else, being that he just signed a Smackdown contract just a couple of weeks ago? That doesn't make sense to me. And I previously mentioned the one thing that bothers me about these fucking WWE drafts. This is the second round of the 2024 WWE draft in a pool that has AJ Styles attached to it and LA Knight attached to it. But Nia Jax gets drafted in the second round, third pick, on Friday Night SmackDown. Nia Jax gets drafted over AJ Styles and LA Knight. Now, I don't know who they got running the war room, but if you think that choosing Nia Jax is a better pick over AJ Styles and LA Knight, I got a whole bunch of what the fuck are you thinking in my mind. Completely outlandish. And completely fucking still. Like, who's choosing Liv Morgan over AJ Styles or LA Knight? Who? A fucking half-witted idiot is, I'll tell you that. Not someone with a brain who tried to create the best roster possible. The one thing I hate about the fucking draft, nobody's choosing Nia Jax or Liv Morgan over AJ Styles. Absolutely nobody. Something's got to be done to fix that. Paul Heyman. He was in the parking lot waiting for a black SUV to pull up, and we all knew who was inside. Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. The MFT. We finally now know what MFT stands for. Tama Tonga put it on his Instagram profile. Motherfucking Tonga. That's what it stands for. Not my family tree, or something along the lines of what you guys were coming up with last week. My favorite Tonga, motherfucking Tonga, is what it is. Solo emerged in a black suit. Heyman said he would get the door for Solo from now on because he didn't immediately open the door for Solo. He tried to see Paul Heyman, Paul Heyman, slacking on the job. Solo asked the bloodline to be drafted. Heyman told him that they have not been drafted yet. Solo asked why, and then answered in detail. Heyman said Reigns withdrew from the draft since Solo is bringing in new members, and no one knows what they're getting. Tama Tonga then appeared. He stared a hole right inside Paul Heyman's soul. Solo asked Heyman to repeat himself. All of a sudden, Kevin Owens is barreling down the driveway to the arena, and blasts Solo Sikoa in the back and starts attacking Solo and Tama Tonga from behind. Officials break up this mayhem. Owens tried to break free, but man, oh man, there was a big brawl in the back, and Kevin Owens is out for blood. Kayla Braxton was on the stage, and she welcomed Bianca Belair. to Cincinnati. Number 1 draft pick on Snap. Bianca made her entrance and joined Kayla on the stage. Kayla congratulated Belair on being the top pick tonight. She said that Belair and Jake Cargill have a chance to dethrone the Kabuki Warriors for the tag team championships in France. Gee, I wonder who's going to win that match. Belair said she wants to finally enter with damage control, and Cargill is the perfect person to help her do that. Belair said damage control is falling apart, and the final piece is the women's tag team. So after her and Cargill defeat them, damage control will not have a reason to show up on stage. Then we get Asuka and Kairi Sane coming out and trash talks Belair in Japanese. All of a sudden, Jake Cargill shows up, stood next to Bianca Belair, and they all 4 start talking shit to each other. The Japanese ladies are speaking in their native tongue, and Bianca Belair and Jake Cargill are squawking at Kyrie and us. Some build for this match, huh? Yeah, what do you do with the okay, it's not going to be the Kabuki Warriors. If you're a fan of Asuka and Kyrie, go up, man. You got about a week and a day left with MS Tag Team Champions. Bubba Ray Dudley. Bully Ray, man. Oh, man, that WWE set busted clean early, man. That is now all the busted open radio appearing on WWE television, man. Look at that. He's all busted open during the day and then chilling the day on Friday night. Devon and Bubba Ray announced the 3rd round of the WWE Draft. Crowd chanted ECW. Crowd chanted We Want Tables. And then Bubba Ray and Devon put on their Dudley Boys glasses and read the following draft. Smackdown. First pick in the 3rd round, they choose LA Knight. I don't know why they chose Nia Jax over LA Knight, but here we are. I guess they chose Nia Jax and LA Knight. Still waiting for AJ Styles, but they chose Nia Jax over AJ Styles. Somebody get me on the phone with all this. Stop. Raw picks Ricochet. Smackdown then picks the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa, Tamatonga, and Palmer. So this is the first group chosen in the draft, and it looks like all factions will now stay together. So choosing one instead of all. And then Raw picks Sheamus. So largely through 3 rounds, this was a complete waste of time. Literally nothing. LA Knight was already on SmackDown. Ricochet was already on Raw. The Bloodline was already on SmackDown, and Sheamus was already on Raw. So through 3 rounds, the only difference that we got was Braun Breaker making a transition from SmackDown to Raw, Nia Jax from Raw to SmackDown, and in the first round, we got Carmelo joining SmackDown from NXT. Outside that, so far through 3 rounds, 0 change. But I thought the foundation was going to change forever. Even in the supplemental draft, we got nothing. Baron Corbin is the only change. Zoe Stark stays on Raw. Shayna Baszler stays on Raw. The OC stays on SmackDown. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn move over to Raw from SmackDown. Who gives a shit? Ivar stays on Raw. Nothing changed. You look at something like this and you get excited because you think that things are going to fucking change. Nothing changed. Moving on. Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi. This was a number 1 contenders match for the WWE Women's Championship and the right to wrestle Bayley in France at Backlash. Bayley was on commentary. Naomi hit a dead press right at the start of the match. Naomi then sends Stratton to the ropes, and Stratton stopped herself going to the outside. Naomi landed a drop kick to the outside, rolled Stratton back in. Naomi goes to the top rope. Stratton moves, draped Naomi over the 2nd rope, and she hits a devastating hip attack. Naomi came right back and landed a modified pile driver and a split tape from the commercial break. Back from break. Stratton had control until Naomi hit a back kick and drove Stratton's head into the mat for a two. The two landed the same move on each other, slamming each other down. The way to double down for both legs. Naomi came out of it with the upper hand. It's a go. Out of nowhere, all of a sudden, newly acquired and newly drafted Nia Jax showed up and attacked Bayley at ringside. Now, Bayley wasn't a part of the match. So it's all right if she put her hands on Bayley. It completely factored the outcome of the match. All of a sudden, Naomi went over to go help Bayley because they're friends, and she saw Bayley being beat up by Nia Jax. And Jax attacked Naomi, giving Naomi the victory over Tiffany Stratton. They didn't want to beat Naomi. They wanted Tiffy time. So they sent Nia Jax out there to cause what was an obviously shitty finish. Now we're getting a triple threat match. After the match ended, Stratton set Naomi and Bayley up, went to the top for the second week in a row. I'm glad that she's mixing it up at the top. We don't even know what branch she's going to be on, to be honest with you. Move over to Raw. Naomi can move over to Raw. We don't know. We don't know anything. All I know is that this was a very uneventful night one. Very uneventful. Byron Saxon interviewed the Street Profits and Big Bad backstage. Next week, the Profits will challenge A-Town Down Under. A-Town Clown Under. For the tag team time, Big Bad said they're going to take the heels down. And Austin Theory and Grayson Waller appeared talking trash. Bobby Lashley showed up, scared Theory and Waller off. Match is made for next week on SmackDown. Not the pay-per-view. Next week on SmackDown, where SmackDown will be held in France before Backlash. Teddy Long, player. Player. Teddy Long, JBL. And asked them to follow. Raw gets the Alpha attack. Chad Gable, Otis, Akira Tozawa, and Maxine Dupree stay hungry. I guess that makes sense because Gable's going to be feuding with Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn was exempt from the draft, so you can't move Gable off of the show for the title that he's currently fighting. Again, uneventful. SmackDown drafts Andrade. So we moved Andrade from Raw to SmackDown. Now he's on the same show for now as the rest of his Mexican buddies. Dragon Lee, Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio, the Babylon Fantasma, and the rest. Angel, Humberto. And Monday Night Raw, in the final pick of the fourth round, drafts Kiana James. Who? Kiana James. Now, if you don't know Kiana James is a decent talent. She made roster ready. I didn't really get a sense that she. Who do you got down there? You got Lyra Valkyria. Who? But you're choosing Kiana James over Lyra Valkyria. I don't get it. A little bizarre. But it's a businesswoman. We'll see what happens, man. See what happens. But this is a very underwhelming draft. This may have been one of the more underwhelming first nights of the draft that we've ever seen. So, to go over what we did have as a change, 95% of the rosters on this night did not change. SmackDown keeps Bianca Belair, Raw keeps Jey Uso, Raw keeps Seth Rollins, and SmackDown adds Carmelo Hayes. Then we go to round two. They keep Randy Orton, does SmackDown. Monday Night Raw keeps Liv Morgan. Braun Breaker adds to Monday Night Raw. Raw adds Braun Breaker, and then SmackDown adds Nia Jax. Then the third round, SmackDown's keeping LA Knight, Raw's keeping Ricochet, SmackDown's keeping the Bloodline, and Raw keeps Vince. So legitimately, the first 3 rounds, there was barely any change outside of Nia Jax, Braun Breaker, and Carmelo Hayes. And then we get round 4, and we get AJ staying on SmackDown. Okay, AJ staying on SmackDown, Alpha Academy staying on Raw. Andrade moves from Raw to SmackDown, and Kiana James goes from NXT to Monday Night Raw. And then we get the supplemental draft, which happened at, closed tonight. Supplemental draft that was going on during I was live. We get Baron Corbin getting pulled up from NXT to SmackDown. Ivar stays on Raw. Ashante Adonis and Cedric Alexander stay on SmackDown. They weren't. It's almost as if they aren't on the show anyways. They never used. And Alpha Flyer and Isla Dawn move over from SmackDown to Monday Night Raw. The OC, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, and Minions stay on SmackDown. Shayna Baszler stays on Raw, and Zoe Stark stays on Raw. So the foundation of WWE has not changed at all. I'm assuming we will continue to get supplemental moves throughout the weekend. I know WWE did supplemental moves throughout Saturday and Sunday in previous years. I'm assuming we'll get that. But other than that, I mean, this was probably one of the more uneventful shows and drafts that we've seen. Kayla Braxton was in the back with Nick Aldis. He said he liked his selections and the future is bright for SmackDown. He says he has announcements for Backlash in France. Aldis announced a triple threat match for the WWE Women's title. Stratton versus Bayley versus Naomi. Well, that is added to Backlash. And Teddy Long announced Kevin Owens and Randy Orton will battle against the Bloodline, Tama Tonga, and Solo Sikoa in a tag team match at Backlash. So there you go. Tama Tonga's first in-ring match will happen at the pay, which is also where I predict we will see Jacob Fatu debut for WWE. The rumor was WWE Insider reported that Jacob Fatu is debuting immediately within the next week or so, and within the next week or so is Backlash. He wasn't on the show tonight. He's not going to be on the show Monday. I'll tell you where he's going to be. France. I'm expecting Jacob Fatu to debut for WWE this coming week. Main event. Carmelo Hayes versus Cody Rhodes. This was a non-title match in the main event of SmackDown. That was fine for what it was. I mean, it didn't blow anybody away. They went 8 minutes. There wasn't really a lot of wrestling on this show tonight at all. Good for Carmelo Hayes. He brought the fire. He shot his shot. He wrestled Cody. They put him in the ring with Cody because they trust him and they believe in him and he's the future. You know, when Cody tore his pec and was out for about 7 months, when he got cleared to wrestle, he went down to the Performance Center. The guy that was sparring with him and getting him ring ready was Carmelo. That's when about 8 minutes, 9 minutes, the fine TV main event. WWE clearly is high on Carmelo Hayes. They have been for years. They pushed him as the face of NXT, and they're going to push him as one of the faces of SmackDown. And I hope that they know what they're doing with him, just like they did in NXT on the main roster. That's all I can hope for. He's got it. And he's going to be a great addition to whoever gets him. And SmackDown done. Two locked up. Crouch into Cody. Cody landed his drop punch early. Hayes came back with a springboard takedown. He legit hurt his shoulder. I hope that he's over. Cody sold the shoulder pain as a result of called his shot. He's not supposed to. After the match was over, Cody posed with the WWE title, and AJ showed up behind him out of nowhere. Cody and AJ engaged in a stare down and shook hands to close the show. Very, very lackluster. wasn't changed. The landscape doesn't look any different. A couple pieces moved here and there. Hopefully we get more on. Was this SmackDown worth it? No, this was a complete waste. Thank you guys very much for all your support. If you enjoyed today's podcast, if you enjoyed today's stream,
All right. All right. Until next time, I'll see y'all later. This is Jacob Cat 2024. Hit that like button, leave a comment, please subscribe to my channel. Until next time, I'll see y'all later.